Hey there, Deluxe fans! Hope you're feeling particularly magical today. In today's video, we are going to be talking about Bruno Madrigal and his mysterious backstory. Stick around to find out how and why he became the first outcast in his family, as we explore a bit about his background, personality, and some of the symbolism that surrounds his character throughout Disney's Encanto. As we know, Bruno was the last born and the youngest of the Alma and Pedro's fraternal triplets and the only son to be born out of the three. His two older sisters, Pepa and Julieta, grew up alongside him, and while they felt love from all sides of their little village, Bruno was less lucky. Julieta and Pepa both grew up to become mothers, turning Bruno into Tio Bruno, as he was uncle to Isabella, Dolores, Luisa, Camilo, Mirabel, and Antonio, though we know he hadn't been around long to meet Antonio. This was because he was forced, or at least felt forced, to leave his family behind after his gift caused them nothing but misery. While Bruno's ability to see future events in a person's life might seem like a great power to have, we learned that for some reason he was only able to see the negative aspects of his visions, at least until Mirabel helped him to follow the butterfly. Much like his siblings, Bruno was granted a gift by the Madrigal's ever-burning candle, and with that gift came his room and the Mural Lake door just like his siblings received. Bruno's door is an interesting one to look at compared to all the others. When you look at how they portray Bruno, it almost looks like as if he's irritated or upset, and of course, he's standing over an hourglass depicting his gift of reading into time. We learned that as he grew up and used his gift more and more to see into the future of his family members and the other townsfolk, he slowly began being seen as a bringer of bad fortune. The town began blaming Bruno for all of their problems, and it seemed like his family did as well. This is why when he saw a vision that impacted the entire Madrigal family, he felt it was best to leave. He had always seen himself as the black sheep of his family, and always felt that if he was a source of nothing but misery. So after he witnessed Mirabel not receiving a gift or a room for herself, he reluctantly turned to his vision. What he saw terrified him, along with Abuela Alma. During his vision, Bruno saw Mirabel's future having two possible outcomes, one of which spelled disaster for Casa Madrigal. In the less dramatic version, Bruno saw Mirabel standing in front of their magical casita with the house appearing physically okay and normal. However, in his other vision, the one that Bruno figured was more likely to come true, he saw Mirabel standing in front of their house as it cracked and crumbled to the ground. And, as we said, because Bruno was used to seeing the negative side of his visions, he feared that his family's home was in danger. This resulted in Bruno destroying the slab that the vision had been imprinted on, and decided to hide away from the rest of the family in order to protect his niece from any potential blame and disdain that might have come her way. Since he had disappeared without a word, his family felt as if Bruno had abandoned them, which only made his name become more and more taboo. Some people held larger grudges against Bruno than others, such as Pepa, who blamed him for ruining her mood at her wedding and bringing terrible weather upon the ceremony. Now, many people in the town believed that Bruno had up and left the area altogether, but in reality, he was just spending his days hiding in the walls of his family's home, with only the alternative personalities and the rats to keep him company. The only person who appeared to know that Bruno was hiding within the compounds of Casa Madrigal was Dolores, and that was simply because of her gift, which we all know allows her to hear even the quietest of sounds at the greatest of distances. It's actually a bit odd when you think about the fact that she never actually told her family where they could find her uncle. But Bruno's story had a bit of a happy ending, with his family welcoming him back with open arms and letting him know that they never hated him, just worried about their baby brother, uncle, and son. This was all made possible after his vision of Mirabel and Casa Madrigal falling to pieces came true, and he made himself known to everyone, and it was actually quite heartwarming to see his reunion with each of his family members. First, he approached Abuela, trying to convince her that it wasn't Mirabel's fault, not knowing that she and Alma had already spoken. And after that, he made his presence known to the rest of the family as he helped them, and the people of the town began to rebuild their family home. This was a nice touch at the end of the film, because he was welcomed back not only by his family, but also the townspeople too. A nice, symbolic representation of a house and relationship restoration with all. Now, we know the event that caused Bruno to leave his family and be seen as the outcast, but there had to be more to him being the black sheep than just his visions, right? I mean, what do we know about Bruno's personality? We know that the people of the town view Bruno as a negative person who brings about nothing but bad things, but the reality of the matter is far different. Instead of bringing bad things down upon the people around him, Bruno is simply the bearer of bad news. This isn't the facade that the townspeople have about Bruno either. It's clear that they held nothing but disdain from the youngest of Alma's children, and that's because of their perspective of him. To them, Bruno was a monster who has fun making people go bald or killing their fish. But once we got to meet Bruno with Mirabel, we saw that he was clearly a misunderstood man. Bruno shows through his actions that he is a kind-hearted person who is simply shy and suffers heavily from anxiety. Even though his family and the town show nothing but negativity to Bruno, so much so that he felt the need to hide away from the world, he still did everything he could to keep them safe. He was even trying his best to fill the cracks that were forming in Casita's foundation. We, the audience, know that Bruno isn't some evil, malicious person. He's just an insecure person who believed, like the people around him, that his gift could bring nothing but bad things. Thankfully, we do get to see a change in his mood after he reveals himself. You can immediately see him become more cheerful than we had ever seen him be in the movie before that point. And it should be noted that Bruno wasn't entirely alone when he was hiding away in the walls, which brings us to his next key personality trait. Much like his nephew Antonio, Bruno is a big fan of animals, and apparently, they are a big fan of him. While living inside of the walls of Casa Madrigal, Bruno managed to befriend a family or even a nest of rats that quickly became his roommates as much as a source of entertainment. He even shares his food with them, showing that he truly cares for his critter friends. This is likely why we can see him making sure that the rats get out of Casita safely before it becomes crashing down. Bruno did have a few other friends with him inside of those walls, but in reality, they were alternate personalities of his that he made to help him survive. The split personalities likely come from the near decade of isolation that he put himself through. I mean, that's enough to break even the strongest mind. And to help him cope, his brain created two alternate personas. We met Hernando, who is the one that Bruno becomes when he needs to be fearless. As we learned, Hernando is scared of nothing. Bruno would also become Hernando whenever he had to fix up the foundation of the family's home. To fix the foundation, Hernando needed supplies and tools, more specifically, spackle. This is where Jorge came into play. Jorge was the second persona that Bruno's mind created for himself. He was Hernando's partner, in the sense that he was the man who made the spackle for Hernando to fill the cracks with. The company that he could keep for himself would only help him so much though, especially during such a long period of time alone. You can tell throughout this whole experience that Bruno wishes that he could be with his family, hence why he didn't just outright leave. Bruno always wanted to be able to help his family, despite the way he knew they felt about him. He loved them to pieces and regretted every misunderstanding that ever took place between them, one of which is at the event at Peppa's wedding, where she thought he intentionally told her bad news to ruin her day. But in reality, he was just telling her to be herself and not to worry about the weather. This clearly ate at him, because the first thing he said to his family when he approached them in the ruins of Casa Madrigal was an apology to his sister and brother-in-law. He could have easily let it be water under the bridge when he returned, but because he wanted Peppa to know how much he cared and how sorry he was that he had inadvertently ruined her big day, he apologized. It's clear that, despite the trend at the beginning of the film that Bruno was some evil figure who only ever meant to bring people down, he was actually one of the kinder characters in the film. His personality is one that I think a lot of people can relate to, and the fact that he spent a decade in hiding trying to protect his family speaks volumes for the type of person that Bruno really was. Disney has never shied away from symbolism when it comes to making their movies, and Encanto is no different, especially when you take a look at Bruno. Like the rest of his family, his clothes act as a symbol of the special gift that they received when they come of age. In Bruno's ensemble, you can clearly see hourglass patterns throughout it, which is the same symbol that Casita used on his door to represent his gift. And when it comes to a physical symbol of Bruno, you can see signs of sand or even mentions of sand when it comes to anything involving Bruno, whether it be the sand that is strewn all throughout his room, or Dolores literally saying that she associated Bruno with the sound of falling sand. It's clear that Bruno and sand are seen as one and the same. Many fans have also picked up on a trend with the color green that can be found throughout Encanto, which has led many of them to believe that the color green is associated with being the black sheep in the family, or becoming the outcast. Think about the two Madrigal family members that seem to fit in the least with the rest of their family. Obviously, we mean Bruno and Mirabel, both of which has a hint of green that plays a key role in their outfit. While Bruno's entire outfit and even the color of his eyes are green, Mirabel simply has green glasses. And let's talk about Bruno's door for a second. I mean, the doors inside of Casa Madrigal are very important to each individual family member, so it would make sense that they would act as a major symbol for the characters. But when we take a look at Bruno's door, we notice something odd. While the rest of the family members' doors are all lined up next to each other, Bruno's door got moved away from the rest. He sat in a tiny nook around the corner from the rest of the family. And why do you think that happened? Well, we believe that Casita did this based on how Abuela felt about her son and the family. After all, she is the candle holder in the family. It would seem like the more and more that Bruno grew apart from the family, the further and further away his door moved from theirs, symbolizing the growing distance between them. And then when he had hid away, the glow from his door faded, and Casita sealed it off, which showed that he had officially been separated from the family, even though he was still technically living among them. One of the best things about Disney's Encanto was by far the characters that they created and introduced to us. All of them were quirky and interesting in their own way, but among the many Madrigals, one of them stole the show. After looking into more of Bruno's backstory, it's clear to see why he's a fan favorite, despite it being obviously clear on why we don't talk about Bruno. But what do you guys think? Was Bruno destined to be the outcast in the family? Or do you think he had been able to look on the bright side, he still would have felt like the black sheep? Let us know in the comments below. As for now, that's all Disney fans. Let us know what video you'd like to see next in the comments, and like and subscribe for more magically packed videos.